What is up, guys? I'm glad to see everybody. I need to open up the chat window as soon as I figure out where it is. Too many screens. We're going to pull the screen over here and stick it right there. Actually, it's probably a bad spot. We'll leave it right there. I haven't quite decided on how to make things work yet. I did switch over to dual screens. Still working the bugs out. There's certain things that I like about the dual screens, and there's certain things that I dislike about the dual screens. If you haven't noticed, my guitar got longer and it's missing a string. What the heck happened to it? It's my 5-string guitar. You all have heard me talk about my custom shop Squire. This is it. And they're extremely hard to find. Let's go over the specs on this monstrosity. And that's exactly what it is. It is a monstrosity. These guitars retailed at $1,100. And that was over 15 years ago from Squire. Needless to say, they did not sell very well. But this guitar has an ebony-based Rich Light FPL high-pressure laminate Rich Light fingerboard over ebony. And Squire did that over 15 years ago. Check that out. See how glossy it is? But the main root is ebony. And you can see it has a 1/16 of an inch of the HPL or Rich Light. Okay. From the factory, 2 EMGs, blend knob, tone, phase switch, volume. From the factory. From the factory. Yep, hip shot bridge. Look at that monstrosity. This is factory, guys. Factory. The tuners are unbranded. You can see where it says Fender right there on it. No Squire badging on the back. Now, this serial number is IC 0704345565. IC stands for
Court.
Indonesian court. Yes, it is a court. Stupid nice guitar. Stupid nice. I am going to attempt to play this thing. It's the first time I've played it in a very long time. I did tune it, and that's pretty much all I did to it. And I'm not going to use a pick on my first thing. So you can hear that it has some pop. It's a poppy instrument. Let's try it. You can hear the difference there. I like this position, so it's a great bass, guys. That the Been a long time. I really, really need to put strings on this thing. If you're not familiar with Squire and their custom shop, they did custom shop for about 2.5 years. I have two Squire custom shop guitars. I have this one and I have a Squire M80. If you're not familiar with the Squire M80, um, really a stupid instrument. The Squire M80 is a Fender Stratocaster with a set neck. And they put humbucker pickups on it from Seymour Duncan. They're Seymour Duncan designed, but it's a set neck Stratocaster. Again, it has a wood body, but instead of the high gloss like this, it's more of a matte finish. Um, it come from the factory with Grover tuners, the Seymour Duncan design pickups. Really a nice instrument. Not as over the top as the Squire basses were. Squire offered two versions of this. The other version, this pickup was split, and they moved half the pickup up like this, and they tilted this pickup just a little bit. Really an awesome bass. I can't. They're just they're really cool basses.
Trucker Bob said,
Yeah.
does he realize playing bass is like inhaling gasoline? He'll lose about 20 IQ points after 30 minutes of playing.
Before the stream, I made sure to eat a couple of the silicone packets that come in some of these guitars. I mean, they are bass player treats. So I needed to get in the role. So one I smushed up and I sniffed, and the other one I ate. Just saying. It's such a smooth playing bass, and people talk about Rich Light being something new. This guitar was built over 15 years ago, and it's a Rich Light HPL ebony fingerboard. Um, the only reason I got the guitar, in the last stream, you heard Brian talk about K&B Music in Martinsburg, West Virginia. He was a Fender Squire dealer, and he bought quite a few of these guitars. That's actually where my SWR right there. That's an SWR bass amp. Stupid nice. If you can find an SWR bass amp and you play bass and you haven't heard of SWR, do yourself a favor and go find one and play it. They were way ahead of their time, and they thought about musicians. Like this one here has a 1U rack space built into it. So right where my finger is, there's an open 1U space. So when you look at the amp and you see this hole in it, it's like, what in the world's that hole for? It was designed so you could put your multi-effects processor in it. So my SWR has an Alesis Quadriverb in it, and that's all you need.
Jupe said now you need a drum set for the next stream.
We do have an Alesis drum set downstairs. Well, it's little ones, but she hasn't been playing it. We kind of boxed it up and took it downstairs. If you go back and watch my very first videos, the room is set up this way, and on this side of the room, the drum set is set up right here, and my amp is set up over here, and little one's keyboard is over by the window. And that was before I bought my MPC 61. I'm trying to think what hers is. Hers is a Yamaha MX 44.
I think so.
It's or 41. It's the shorter version, just like the MX 61 or 66. Really nice modular keyboard. It was designed so you could make your own sounds like a real synthesizer. And then the MX 88 is a completely different monster. That's a next level keyboard. But you know, the MX series really didn't sell too well. Even though the MX88 was a phenomenal keyboard, uh, it's a different than what little one has and the other MX. The two smaller ones are more synth oriented. They're designed more for you to create your own tones, like the old Roland units. Um, but all that was set up over here, and she had her little drum set up, and she had her keyboard set up, and she had a pair of Alesis monitors and headphones, and she was into it for about a year, something like that. You know, like most kids that are into it, and you got to cater to it because you don't know if they're going to stick with it or if it's just a phase. Um, I'm not going to say she won't get back into it, but she hasn't done really anything with the keyboard and the drums for quite some time. So I'm not going to push it on her. She has to. She'll either want to be a musician and find music, you know, to be something that she's interested in and want to devote that time to learn, or she won't. Maybe she'll be one of those people that us, the musicians, will write and cater and produce, and she'll be one of the people that just listen. But I think she'll have a she'll have a better understanding of how hard it is to play music because she's done it. She won't just listen to it and go, She'll go, well, I've played drums, I've tinkered around on the keyboard. This is a cool song. So she'll have a unique um, view of it, if that makes sense. But I wanted to bring out the bass tonight because I had spoken about it and spoken about it and spoken about this bass and never really brought it out for anyone to see. This bass will never go anywhere. They're so rare. Um, it's one of those things, guys, and it's in good shape. You know, for as much as I played this, I played this bass in uh, well, we'll say three bands. And you guys are probably like, well, you're a guitar player. I'm a guitar player if the band doesn't have better guitar players. And to be honest with you, I'm an average guitar player at best. So in my area, there's a lot of phenomenal. When I say phenomenal, phenomenal guitar players. And I have no issues with bass. I think the bass is a freaking cool instrument. I know I pick on bass players, you know, talking about sniffing the package that comes in the crystal packet. But in reality, if you go and you watch a band and there's just something about it and it's like really grooving and it's kicking, odds are they have a kick ass bass player. The bass can really make a song groove and punch. That punch and that bottom end just, that's your bass player. Believe me, start paying attention when you hear these bands. I mean, think of Flea, okay? That dude is a monster on the bass. Think about Geddy Lee from Rush, or think about those two people. Now pull them out and put a basic bass player in Flea's position or Geddy Lee's position. What do you got? Well, you don't have either one of those two bands because the bass drives their music. I mean, Flea was awesome. What the dude did and the constant, just, you know what I'm trying to say. All right, now imagine Rush and the complicated bass runs that Rush did. You know, it's not Rush without it. Now let's look. Oh, hold on. Let's look at the exact opposite. What people pick on Van Halen. What was the bass player's name? Well, no one knows, and Van Halen people do. But even though he wasn't a fancy bass player, he was always on, and he wrote what needed to be wrote to accentuate the song and let Eddie do his thing. He didn't trample over Eddie. He was in the background holding that rhythm together, punching that song through. There's a pro to that just as well as being, you know, another Geddy Lee or Flea. There's two ways of looking at it. What were you saying, hon?
Max Server said bass is the glue.
Yeah, it is. Without the bass, the song falls apart. Let the bass player hit a bad root note. and see how that song goes. You don't, a good bass player you won't hear. If he's a rudimentary bass player, you'll be like, what's the bass doing? Well, he's holding the bottom end together. Especially if you only have one guitar player. Without that bass holding that root and the structure of that song, it falls apart. Am I a phenomenal bass player? Absolutely not. But I can play basic roots and understand the basics. Yeah, as long as you get the basics of the root of the song, and especially if you love music, I love music, and I wanted to go out and play. I wanted to be in that atmosphere, especially since I was a guitar player. I would play with these other guys, and they were phenomenal guitar players. So not only did I learn the basics of the song, the root of the song, hold the glue, as it was just called, the glue of the band. That's what I was doing. I paid attention to those other guitar players. And I started, was like, okay, why is he doing that? And how's he know to go there? Okay. And then they would come up to me, hey, I'm going to do this. I need you to do this and this and this. Well, I was never a big lead guitar player. I've said that. I was never that good to be. I was lead guitar player in one band. Well, two technically. But I was always the rhythm guitar player. To be a good lead player, you need to really understand the root of the song. You need to understand how to play rhythm guitar and know what needs to be done to hold it together. You can't just wail away on the guitar. When your resolve comes around or in between your bars and you want to come back to that root or the fifth or the seventh, you need to understand the root of the music, plus you need to understand enough about the guitar to either hit the third, the fifth, the seventh, or the root. Where are you? Where is your third if you're in A? Okay, or actually A. So you need to know where that third is. If not, you're like, okay, where am I going to go? Now you might get lucky. A lot of these lead players, they just start wailing away, play the pentatonic scale. Sure, you can land on any note. It's in key, but there's a sound that you get by landing on certain notes, whether it's blues, rock, jazz. There's a fundamental thing that you need to learn. And me playing bass in these bands, I think, taught me a lot. One, it gave me a respect for bass, okay? Because when I screwed up and I'm like, oh, where am I at? The song fell apart. And I had a new respect for when I was playing rhythm or lead in a band. I could go to the bass and say, look, it's just me. I need this part of the song to stay, you got to have that bass there. And when it fell apart, I'd go, okay, the bass player's over here doing some wild thing. I'd say, look, keep it simple, stupid. And I say that a lot. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. How many bands have I been in? I don't know, maybe 6, 7 bands total. Most of those bands had that rule, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We would say, okay, we're going to learn this song. We would come in, and if we played it 3 times, now this was bands that actually did it right. You would learn the material and then come to practice, and then you rehearsed it together. My other bands, you learned the song together, which never went anywhere because you spent all the time working on the song. And if your band practice is 2-3 hours long, that's just enough time to go over the song one time in your set list. That's it. You don't have any time to learn a song. You don't. And then once you get 2 or 3 sets down, you're going to come to practice. You might work on 2 or 3 songs and you're going to hit a set. Okay, maybe 2 sets. And that's where you're going to rotate that stuff around. You get a newfound respect for guys when you show up to practice and you're like, okay, oh yeah, I know that. Now you're going to learn it together as a group. So once you get that and you make a mistake and it falls apart, you realize real quickly who the strong person in the band is. Who do you turn to when you forget or get lost? Well, that's usually the strongest person in the band. Whoever you look at and go, okay, I'm lost. Where are you at? I need help. You know, if you long as you know the key of the song, you can pedal that route until you get back on track. Is people going to notice? Maybe. But if you know the route, okay, not all songs stay in the same route. They'll change keys or they'll change, but you can get by. If you don't know the song and you're just winging it, that's when it starts falling apart. A really good band, they'll make mistakes, and 99.9% of the people in the audience don't even realize they made a mistake because they're talented and they're able to go through it, and the other member pick up, or the member misfrets or misses a change, and he's able to do a resolve to come back into the song. That's that's a real musician that's used to playing out in front of people. I mess up all the time doing YouTube, and very rarely do you see me stop. I usually just try to play through. I have stopped. Sometimes it's my little squirrel brain just goes, okay, I'm there. I have nowhere to go. I'm just going to stop, and that means I need to work on it. That means I hit something that threw me that I can't resolve and come back out of. And that's not good. That's something that you need to fix. And a lot of that, guys, is just time playing. You got to take the time and play. Playing in your bedroom and in the practice hall with your other bandmates, I'm going to say that that doesn't necessarily get it done. You need to be playing in front of people in a real world situation and just make those mistakes. And the more you do it, the better you'll become at doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's entertainment, you know. And don't be too hard on yourself, because I listen to these professional artists and I'm like, wow, this is awful or this is good. I've listened to pro bands go out and it's like, wow, these guys are really bad tonight. Everyone has an off night, you know. So don't, if you're recording yourself and you're listening to it and it's like, oh, my amp sounds horrible. What am I doing right there? Don't be overly critical of yourself. Listen to it and go, yeah, I shouldn't do that live, or maybe I shouldn't do this. Not only that, not only record yourself, videotape yourself. Watch how you're walking around on the stage, how you're standing, your posture, how you're interacting with the audience, because you need to interact. You don't stand there like a zombie. You know, that takes time too. And these are all things that you got to work on if you're going out live. People want to be entertained. You're the entertainment. That's your job. And that means record yourself and go back and watch yourself. See, put yourself in their position. Go back and watch it and go, would you be entertained watching yourself? You know, I mean, we're not talking about, it's not clown day. You're not the you're not the court gesture. Would you truly be entertained if you walked into the bar and saw your band playing? Or do you all stand there and just, you know, I've heard some awesome bands, but they're watching their fretboards and they just stand there. Yeah, me as a musician, I can respect what they're doing, but it's not very entertaining. And I've been with friends who are like, oh, these guys are, you know, and and everyone just starts drinking and talking. But if you go in, you watch a band and they're playing simple stuff, but they're jumping all over the stage. The singer's interacting. He's telling you to tip your bartender, to drink, get up and party. He's interactive, and the guitar player is interacting with the singer, and the band's doing their thing, and they're getting the audience going. You're going to be surprised at how many people aren't just sitting there having a conversation at the table. They're going to turn around. They're going to interact with the band in between songs. Okay. And then when they do hit the song, you're going to see the ladies will grab their hands, one another, and they get up on the dance floor. It's a thing that just evolves, and it gets better and it gets better. And the more that crowd interacts with the band, the more the band gets into it and plays better. It's like a roller coaster ride. And it can go the exact same way, the other way. You're not interactive, and the people start turning around, eating their food, not paying attention to the band, and the band gets a complex. That's really hard to work out of. If you see that, you need to kick it up a notch. Get those people interactive. And I've played some places, it's kind of like at the end of the night, it's kind of like, whoo, I am so glad we're done. uh, and you can have that night, and when you're packing up, people come up, you guys are awesome. But you felt like you played bad. And that's the point in it. Don't beat yourself up because you're a professional musician at that point. I don't care what anyone says. If you're in a bar and you're playing, even if you're just working for peanuts, you're getting paid to play. That makes you a professional. Learn from it and understand at the end of the night, it's more about what the audience feels, not necessarily how you feel you did. Now you can criticize yourself and you can want to become better, but as long as the consensus is that you guys did a good job and the bar owner's happy and they made money, you did your job. You're going to be invited back, if that makes sense.
BTM said we played at a place. The owner had one rule, basically. I do not care what you play, but that dance floor better be full.
Exactly. And the reason for that is one thing. If the ladies come, guess who comes? The guys. Point blank. If the ladies are there dancing, the guys will come. As shallow as that may sound, that's how it is. And you're not getting, oh, I won't say you won't. You're not going to be getting ladies up on the dance floor playing Pantera and Motorhead. Odds are. You have to play stuff that people listen to. Now, nowadays, you don't really hear too much about the radio. People listen to Pandora, or they have their favorites list. So if I was going to create a new set list for a new band, I would have the band, if we really were serious about wanting to do something, I'd say, we're not getting together to practice. Let's take the next 4 weeks and weekends, and let's hit a bar on Friday night and Saturday night, and let's hit the area and see what local bands are playing and see the reaction of the people there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You go in, you listen to the band, pay attention to the dance floor. What are they reacting to? Write it down. What didn't they like? Write it down. Write down how the band acted and ask some questions. Go up and ask the band, do you like playing here? Get some rudimentary and ask the people in the bar. What kind of bands play here? Do you like coming? Why do you come here? Write all that information down about that bar. Next night, on Saturday night, go to your next bar. See who's playing. What are they playing? What's their reaction? Ask the people why they come. Ask the band. Do they treat you right here? What's the deal? Take 4 weeks and do that. Then you, as your new band, sit down and go, is this, what did we learn? These are the songs that are happening. Are we going to be happy playing these songs? Or do we need to find other venues that play stuff that's more suited for what you're wanting to do? The last thing you want to do is get a gig somewhere and they're expecting a country western band and you're going to come in there playing Nirvana or whatever. Does that kind of make sense? And I say that because if you're from the Northern Virginia area, there's a place in Leesburg called Payne's Biker Bar. And the same owner owned Payne's Biker Bar that also owned the Silver Dollar. Now, these are both dives, okay? They're dives. The difference was we were playing the Silver Dollar, and it was a biker bar, but it had a larger variety of people come in, even though it was a biker bar.
That place was a hole.
Yeah, it was a crap hole. But on a Friday and Saturday night, there was, when we played there, there'd be easily 200, 250 people there. Easily. And it was a small place. I mean, it was packed. I mean, there wasn't a place to sit. People would be standing. that was a packed bar. You could get away with playing, some glam rock, we'll call it, Poison, Def Leppard. But they, Led Zeppelin and Molly Hatchet and stuff like that, Leonard Skinner, that was the go to. But you could get away with Van Halen, Ugly Kid Joe, Motley Crue. You could get away with that kind of stuff. And it went over fine. So the owner come up to us and said, well, I got another bar in Leesburg. It's Payne's Biker Bar. Would you guys be interested in playing? We're like, sure. He goes, same kind of bar. It's a biker bar. Well, we get there and we get into our second song, and man, they start throwing stuff at us. And I look over at the rhythm guitar player, and they're saying they want to hear, Give Me Three Steps, songs, we'll just say songs I had never played before. But thank the Lord, the lead guitar player had played in a lot of variety bands, and he knew a lot of Southern rock. We winged it, and we winged it all night long. And our singer would look at him and say, I think I can pull that off. I know. And he was jotting it down. He'd go up to somebody, hey, do you know the lyrics to this song? And they would try to write it down at the table. It's for cell phones. Just try to get me something, and it'll jar my memory. And then they'd bring it up. Okay, well, let's try this one. We played 2.5 sets that way. And at the end of the night, the bartender, was like, man, you guys were fantastic. I'm like, we're never playing here again. I I didn't think I was going to make it out of there alive. It was a hard place. And one, I didn't care for the music. I can't even remember the stuff we were playing. Beatles. I think we played a couple Beatles. I mean, I don't know any Beatles tune, but we had a solid lead player, and he knew the songs. And he would just say, look, it's in this key. Here's the root structures. And the sound guy knew. He punched him up, and he lowered the bass. He lowered the rhythm guitar. And of course, the drummer could wing it. And the singer just did the best he could, and it was a lot of instrumental stuff, but we got through the night. So know the place you're playing. And that doesn't mean you get a different crowd. We played, I think it was called Cannonballs one night. We had always heard rock music at Cannonballs, and we went into Cannonballs. I only played there one time, and we couldn't play loud. But that was a horrible night for me too, because my aunt was used to being at a louder volume. They didn't want us that loud. I didn't think it sounded good. And we were playing stuff that I just wasn't really into. Did it go over well? Well, they didn't invite us back. So that means we screwed up. And that was probably just because that was a place we shouldn't have played. Our music and our style just didn't fit in. And that hurts you. Because the bar down the street might be a perfect avenue for you, but that owner, it's like, well, what happened to blah, blah, blah that played last weekend? Oh, they just didn't have it, and they were off, and no one was buying, and people were leaving. They didn't want to pay the head charge because of the band. And then the other bar owner's like, oh, okay, at least now I know if they come in, I'll pass on them. So be careful what you do, because it takes a long time to get a good reputation, but it takes 1 or 2 bad shows to destroy your reputation for a very long time. And once that happens, it's very hard to work your way out of it. So that's what's sad. It takes a long time to build a following and get a good reputation, but it takes a very short time to destroy it. So I'm going to look at the chat. I'm going to set this little monstrosity down. I just wanted to point out my bass. Love my bass. If anyone has something to add to that, I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat. I see we have 34 people. If you play in bands right now and I'm off target, I need you to post. Tell me in your area what you've found what works and what doesn't work. What have you found that your particular band does to go through the weeds? Last week with Brian, we mentioned just a little bit, this quiet stage thing. People going in-ear monitors without even an amp on the stage. When we played out, I had my rack mount amplifier. Now we did mic off in larger places, but that was my monitor, so I could hear myself, and I had a wedge monitor in front of me so I could hear vocals. It's a completely different thing now with in-ear monitors. Your sound guy's going to mix. You're going to hear whatever you tell him you want to hear: drums, bass, guitar, vocals. That's going to be in your in-ear along with your guitar signal. The stage is quiet. It's just PA, and they do that because they want to keep that volume down. What I think Brian said something about 100 dB was maximum. Isn't that what I can't remember what he said. We had to go back and look at the stream. I think he was saying 100 dB because they still do a lot. The owners of Shenandoah Music, they're in bands and they play out in a lot of different places, and it's a quiet stage. And I think they're using an X32 Behringer for their board. I'm pretty sure that's what Matt told me, that they were using an X32, and they're using in-ear monitor system. And that's just, I've never done that. So that would be something that I may struggle with if I got in a new band. Could I tolerate the in-ear? There's a side of me that says I think that would be better, but there's also a side of me that goes, if the sound guy doesn't get it right in my head, I'm going to be all screwed up.
Vox said, Avery, how's the new vehicle working out?
The new van. It's I don't work for Ford. My brother does. Zine, if you're watching, the cam bus in that van is really screwed up. It just does some wonky things. Like the Bluetooth stereo, the way the backup camera shuts off when you put it in drive. It's got a lot of little quirky things, and it's in the CAN bus and the writing of the protocol in the computer in the van. Is it horrible? I think it rides great. I'm getting 15.6 miles to the gallon with the van loaded. I only got 19 on the Toyota empty. When I pulled the trailer, I got 10. So far better vehicle for what I'm using. I could stand up in it. I don't like the payment, but what do you do? So far, I guess I like it.
Devastator said it's a Ford. What'd you expect?
Oh, well, it's better than a Chevy with a 6.2. And it's better than a Dodge Fiat van. That was my choice. Chevy doesn't make anything. All they make's that express van, and I didn't really want a Fiat. So that threw Dodge out. Mercedes no longer makes the Metris. Now, Dodge will be coming back with the ProMaster at the end of this year, but it's not going to be the little teeny-weeny ProMaster. They're going to bring over one. I think it's made by Fiat as well, but it's a mid-size van like the Astro and the Metris was. So I just couldn't wait that long. The Toyota died, so I had to buy something new. But all in all, it's a 2500. It's a 250 Transit high roof. I like it. I mean, it come from the factory with all the shelves in it and the rear bend, so I can fit a lot of stuff in that van. Like I said, loaded at 15.6 miles to the gallon. I've gotten as good as 16, but it seems to be averaging 15.5 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, like Jupe said, every vehicle has their problems. Doesn't matter the brand.
Yeah, that's it. I can deal with the little screwy. It just seems slow. Every computer thing in it just seems slow. But it's a work van, so they probably didn't put the best of anything in it. It's basic. It's the rubber. It's a cargo van. It's for putting your stuff in and getting to the gig.
Vox said his F-150 blew the engine at 47,000 kilometer mark.
That's what, about 40,000 miles? That's not good. They're all like that. The Toyota's having problems with their engines exploding. Um, it was so funny. I made a comment about it, and people were picking on, Toyota, you're saying, and it wasn't 3 weeks later, mine exploded. So I think they're all like that now, guys. It's just is what it is. The problem is vehicles are expensive, you know, and if you're in a band, why do you think band players now are going with this little tiny, a Line 6 HX Stomp, and they're minimizing? Well, they don't need a box truck anymore. When our band played, we had two sub bins with four 18-inch JBLs. We had woofer bins with two 15s, and then we had mid bins with two 12s, I think. And then we had our horns. Okay. Then you had a rack of Hafler amplifiers. You had the board, then a rack of, effects units. And then you were talking all your guitar stuff. I had this rack. The bass player had his Ampeg. Then you had the other guitar player. Then the drum set. You've got one heck of a box truck.
Brian VH 5150 said you're spot on 100%. I used to play in bands and been around bands for many years. You need to know your crowd you're playing for.
Exactly. I agree with that. But when you're out playing, just like I'm saying, the van, that's just like your guitar. Don't think it's not. Your transportation and getting the stuff to the gig is just as important as your guitar, your amp, your chords, your board, because without it, you can't get your stuff there. So when these groups are saying, oh, it's a quiet stage, in a lot of ways, that's good, especially if they have an in-house system. That means you can bring your minimum stuff and you go front of house to it. And then at that point, you're at the mercy of their sound guy, if that makes sense. Is it better? I don't know. A new van. If you're in a band and you're buying a new van, now granted, well, would buy a new van. Well, if you did buy a new van, that's $1,100 a month payment, because you're not doing it in my van. You're gonna have to buy a van with a box back, probably a 16-footer at bare minimum. Well, that's $65,000-$70,000. Now you look at all your equipment. It becomes expensive really quick. It goes from having fun to where you have to make a lot of money just to pay for your equipment and the cost. It's a business. It's what it is. When you start making money and you start becoming a professional, it's a business. All these things are write-offs. At the end of all that, if you've got a 3-piece band or a 4-piece band or a 5-piece band, that's how many times you're dividing it. So you're gonna see more 3-piece bands make more money. Why? It's less members. Harder to do, but you make more money. You're only splitting it 3 ways. A 4-piece and a 5-piece band, you better make some money, because those other members are cutting into your part after you pay for everything. So in the bands that I was in, we never made a penny. We would blow a horn. Okay. You spin the diaphragm around, put it back on, spin it back on. You blow it again. Well, there's $150 for a new driver. We always bought the dual voice coil driver that you could flip around. You blow a woofer, or the snake goes out, or 50,000 things. A drunk knocks over the mic and busts it, or all these things just add up, and it never ends. Every time we would think we would get there, we would get better, and we would have to play a bigger venue. Well, guess what? That bigger venue didn't have a sound system. So then you had to go, do we hire a sound guy and pay him $1,000, $500 a night to bring his system, and that's about what it was back then, okay, and do 2 nights, and that takes $1,000 out, and then bring the stuff that you're still required, your basic stuff, and then split it? or do you go out and buy your own stuff? Is this something the band, at $1,000 a weekend, you play throughout 3 times a month, that's 3 grand in that month. At that point, do you go out and buy another amplifier and more drivers? It's not. A lot of bands get, well, back then they got confused. They would go, oh, well, I've got this, P7000. It's a 7,000 watt amplifier, and these speakers are rated at X. You shouldn't do that. It would be better to have 5 or 6 cabinets running at 200 watts apiece than one cabinet running at 700 watts. You can displace the signal across a larger area, and you're working the stuff less. When you go to these places like 30,000 watts, they don't have a 30,000 watt amplifier. It's all the amps in total is producing that power.
BTM said we had our own system. We spent $5,500 with Carvin, and I had some PVCS 800s and 400s in 1990.
The CS 800 and the CS 400, you can drive a tank over those, drop them down a flight of stairs, take them up in an airplane, and just throw them out, and you can pick that thing back up and plug it in, and it'll work. The drawback to the CS 800 was its noise. They had a really high noise floor. We had one too. We ran our CS 800 on the bass bins at one time, the woofers. Our sub bins were run on 2 DH500 Haflers, and that didn't cut it. And that's when I bought this Yamaha P7000. We mono blocked it, and I think it was 1,300 watts mono blocked, and it still struggled running those 4 JBLs.
Kurt said being in a band equals hauling $10,000 in gear in a $900 car to get paid $70 a night.
Yeah, exactly. We were a little more fortunate in my last band. We did okay, but even at that rate, it still didn't. You have to love it. You had to. Just like I'm saying, my last band, all my other bands, I had this, pretty much same rig. It changed over the years, but I probably lost money. But I got to look at it this way: it did help. Okay, I'd make 100 here, 100 there. I enjoyed it, and it gave me, I guess, a reason to say, well, I need a better amp, or I need this, or I guess it was more justification. And you did have a little bit of money that you could put in it. But if you looked at it, staying at work versus playing music, I could have got that equipment much easier just staying at my regular job working than going out and playing. But then it defeats the purpose. It's not the same. You make more over here, but you did it because you loved it. So as long as it kicked back a little bit and it didn't interfere with your personal life, I think that's great.
BTM said I had the Carvin FET 400s for the mids. He said they lost so much money, but they loved it.
Yeah, we had a CS 800. I think we may have had 2 of those. And a CS 400. We gradually got rid of all the CSs, and I was a strickler. I owned the amplifiers and the processors in the band, if you can't tell. I did not own the PA speakers. Our bass player, believe it or not, owned the PA speakers. Then, yeah, everyone had something, and as a group, we had it all. It wasn't until my last band that we said, okay, the band's paying for it, but we still used the stuff we had, but as the band made money, the band purchased it. And that was fine until we broke up, and then, yeah, that's a whole nother animal. But I was strict. I wanted Haflers. I wanted Haflers because they were indestructible, they were loud, and they were clean sounding. Looking back on it, I probably could have got away with maybe some Crowns. I think Crowns would have been good enough. Yeah, they had a high noise floor too, not near as bad as the CS 800 and CS 400, but they punched well above their price point, if that makes sense. Um, what was that other company? There was another company making amplifiers, but they were reasonably priced, but they wasn't dependable. Can't remember the name of the brand. But anyway, I wanted Haflers because they were dependable, but they were pricey. So we had three DH500s, a Transnova 3000, a Transnova 1500, a Transnova 1000, uh, and then we had the Yamaha P7000 and a Yamaha P3000 that were added on laser. And that was just simply because at that point, the Yamaha was awesome. They're very low noise floor, not as low as the Hafler, but the cost was half the cost and twice the power as the Hafler. To look back on it, we should have done Yamahas across the board because they were such a phenomenal amplifier. Like I said, low noise floor, very forgiving, indestructible. This amp here has only had one service since I've owned it, and that was the forward gain potentiometers were replaced. Other than that, it's been flawless. The P3000 has never went down. Now I have a Crown right now in the rack, and this Crown is based off a hi-fi amp. I forget the name of the company. They bought Crown, and Crown did a rack mount professional version of it. But it's a great amplifier. But that Crown didn't make this amplifier back then. So nowadays we really have a lot of different stuff. If I was doing it today, I would just buy these Crowns. This is a XLS 1502, and it's all I need here for doing the studio and YouTube stuff. I want to say it's a 300 watt mono block. I think it's like maybe 500 or something. Someone can look it up. It's not an overly powerful amp, but it was $350. I mean, that's plenty of power to run a mid on, your mid drivers. But anymore, I don't even know if I would do. We were running a four-way. We had a Rain. I no longer have it. We had a Rain crossover. I don't think I would do that anymore. I think I would just go with a full range line drivers, array drivers. And I would have one amplifier for those, and I'd have a sub bin.
Kurt said at one point we had over 12 Crown Macrotech power amps, and moving the rack cases sucked big time.
Yeah, and it's heavy. That's why the band didn't. They said no more Haflers because a DH500's heavy. You put three of those in there, a 3000, a 1500, a 1000, then the two Yamaha amps, and that was in one flight case. Yeah. We had a loading ramp. It was like a U-Haul truck. I tell you what, you get that thing on there, you better not be on the other end. If it was all the way down on the pavement like this, that thing was going to come down off that ramp like it was going to run your butt over. So we would try to find a spot where we could park up, and the ramp would go up on the dock, semi-level, because if you had to take it down in the parking lot and then up, you better have 2 or 3 guys on the other side of it. Because one, it would want to fall this way, plus it would want to roll down the ramp. So you'd have 2 guys at the bottom, one at the top, and a guy on the back side holding it going down the ramp. It was crazy. And then just picking up the horns. You know, you got this stack and you got to pick this horn up, and you don't think anything of it. I'd probably have a heart attack nowadays if I tried that. I mean, I couldn't. And we would set that up on a Friday night. We'd set it up in an hour and a half, 2 hours. But everything was labeled. You know, our snake was labeled, so it was pop, 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 pop. You just pop the cords in. It was all color-coded, marked. It was, I won't say it was simple, but we had simplified it to the point where the singer and the drummer and everyone kind of knew their part. Like the drummer would set up, he had triggers and microphones.
BTM said I have 2 18 space racks and rolling anvil cases right now. They're monsters.
Yeah, we had 2 anvil cases, and the anvil case itself is heavy. So when you put all the gear in it, and the one we were stupid. There's a reason why a lot of the anvil cases are short. For what I just said, we had a tall one, and we had the amplifiers in it. And you had to be really careful. If you were on that, it was like a U-Haul truck, had the pull-out ramp. You had to have 3 guys, or at least 2, on the back side of that thing, or it was going to tip over, or it was going to run somebody over. It was bad. Really stupid. We should have bought 2 of the smaller cases, lower profile, easier to roll around. If you had to go up a couple steps, you didn't have 2 guys on each end struggling to get this thing up, the steps. There were several bars in the back. You had to go up 4 or 5 steps and go in. There was a back section where the stage was, and usually the stage was elevated. So it was always a nightmare. Yeah, you'd think you'd learn, but no, it was buy another amp, buy a bigger speaker. Lagging that 4-speaker cabinet, if you look on both sides of it, the Torlex is all chewed off the ends. That's from ratchet straps, ratcheting it to the side of the box truck. It's like click, 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 and you could just see it pulling the Torlex off the side. It's like, I took a Sharpie and spray paint, and I spray painted either end of it so you really can't see it. But if I do a close-up, all the Torlex is just peeled off the leading edges, and that's from the ratchet straps. This cabinet here used to have a front cover that clipped on it. I made that one, but I took all that off and took the latches off the side and just repainted it. It never goes anywhere now, so I don't need it. All right, guys, we're up on our 1-hour break. We are going to, if you're new here, we want to talk about this. If you're new here, you can chat without being a subscriber. That doesn't mean that I don't want you to subscribe. I want you to subscribe. We're trying to be a different kind of channel here. Just last Thursday, we had a guy that works on guitars full-time. He's a full-time tech, Brian. We are going to start doing tech talk every other week. And it's going to evolve, guys. I spoke to Brian a little bit on text messaging yesterday. We want to bring a guitar in, fresh out of the box from the music store, and he's going to show you what a good music store should do, basic setup-wise. He's not going to disassemble the guitar, but he's going to show you what a good music store does to the guitars before they put them on the floor. And then we want to do a stream on if someone wants that next level setup, what he does in the music store to take that factory guitar to that next level. Of course, it all depends on what you pay for. So we have that coming up. And of course, don't forget, we do a lot of reviews. So I do want you to subscribe, but we're trying to add to the channel, if that makes sense. Become a better channel and just be the channel that is not full of BS, if that makes sense. It's just real world life experiences, if that makes sense. But we're going to take between 5 and 10 minute break. It allows everyone to get a snack, hit the restroom, and get a drink. And then when we come back, we'll talk more guitar stuff. This is just the hangout night. So it's up to you guys where the conversation goes next. So let's either keep talking about gigging or let's move the conversation on to the next thing. I see a Backwoods Billy put some fire and a guitar and another fire, so I don't know what that's about.
Says just wondering if we were gonna Hendrix a guitar. Yep, the burning guitar.
I don't know. He played the upside down Strat thing. I've never tried to restring a Strat backwards like that. It seems like to me the horn would kind of mess me up, but I know it's a cool thing. Jimi Hendrix had a style. I don't really play Hendrix because of that. Certain people can play it and they can do it justice. It's not my thing, if that makes sense. If I played Hendrix, it's just not going to be, it's not going to be Hendrix or anything close to it, if that makes sense.
He lit his guitar on fire.
Oh, I don't know. If we get a guitar from Shenandoah Music, I doubt we're going to light it on fire. Because we would end up having to buy it. But what we talked about doing was just they get shipments in every week, just pulling a guitar out of the shipment, bringing it into here, and he's going to show you what they do at their store before the guitar goes on the floor, if that makes sense. And then he'll kind of go over if you want to pay extra for a little bit better setup or setup to your preference, what he does and what he charges and stuff like that. And of course, I'm sure we'll go off on a tangent, but it won't be this Thursday, but the following Thursday. So it'll be every 2 weeks we'll have Tech Talk, and then every 2 weeks we'll have a review on Thursday nights.
Kurt said buy a lefty Strat and string it right-handed.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. That's, I don't know. I think that with the being backwards, it would have to restrict you, but I'm not that much of a lead player anyway. I think I would be fine. What blows my mind is Hendrix. He was way down there, even though the guitar was backwards. Didn't bother him any, but that just means he was a next level player. I'm not that kind of player, so I kind of stick with what I'm good at. All right, guys. Well, think about our next conversation. Get something to eat, get a drink, hit the restroom, and guys, we'll be back in about 5 or 10 minutes, something like that. I see we already lost like 10 people just since I mentioned it. So if you haven't already, please go down, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe, and we'll be right back. As soon as I figure out which button I need to hit, I think it's this one. Okay, guys. I had a drink. Ooh, I left it in the other room. Isn't that awful? Oh, my little squirrel brain sometimes. Well, if you're not familiar with the Shenandoah area, we have this thing called Apple Blossom, and it is Apple Blossom weekend. And, ooh, thank you, honey. I say that because we have an instrument that was supposed to go back to the store, but it didn't get there. I'm going to mute Linnell's microphone because she's making cocoa. That's the cocoa machine. Her button has if you want to go back and watch Thursday's stream, her button was breaking up and stuff. I'm gonna say if you guys roll, I think it's roll, mute switch. I can't say that's a good product because I've had some issues with ours. Now, granted, that's one product. I thought about reaching out to Sweetwater. We've had it like 2 months. I don't know if I should buy another one, but if I do buy another one and it fails again, that product is definitely going to be on my do not buy list. But if you guys do have the roll mic switch and you've had issues with them, please make a comment in the comment section of this video. Yes, I had one and they suck. Or I have one, been great for years, you must have got a bad one. And that'll give me an idea on whether or not I should purchase another one. But the reason I say this, it's Apple Blossom weekend. Shenandoah Music is closed, so it's still here. Guys, I really like this guitar.
Steve said another guitar for Linnell's collection.
This one? Oh. Linnell's got a lot of guitars now. She's made a list though when I said that, and she's at still below 50% of the guitars that I have, and that's just the ones I played. We're not counting the ones that are retired that don't get played that I just don't want to sell. So yeah, it's okay. I want to try to play this little guy. I had the bass hooked up, so I had to switch my sounds. I think I need to tune it. Oh yeah, we're in some. Well, no, let's leave it there. Sorry, guys. I really do like this guitar. The tuning keys on this guitar are like butter. We do have a floating bridge, so I'll have to retune it. Should have done this beforehand. I'm in a drop tune. That's why it's. There's just something about the guitar, guys, I really like. All right, I'm going to switch sounds here. I'm still working on these sounds, so if you guys have any suggestions on them. I wish I could put in better words. The guitar has a certain feel to it. It's I wouldn't do anything to this guitar. It's got a good. It just. That's just clean. No. It's just got a sound to it. I can't put my finger on it. Let's add a little something to that one. You guys can get a little bit better idea of what this thing is doing. Let me let's try that one. Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's what I did. Okay. Gonna add a little reverb. That's more than a little reverb. Let's cut the mix down. Let's take a little bit more of that out. That's just reverb. There's nothing else in the signal. It's got an awesome sound. I don't know what you guys think about it. Maybe it's just me, but this guitar, there's something about it. It's got a tone that just it's got, I don't know. This may, I don't own the guitar, guys, but I think I want to review another chord. I've reviewed two. This exact same, well, it's not the exact same model. It's a little cheaper model. It's humbucker single single. That guitar blew my mind too. Um, we're looking for the best bang for your buck guitar. Oh, you guys are going to shoot me. I'm almost going to say this is the best bang for your buck guitar I've had on the channel. This is a $700 guitar. Does it do heavy metal the best? No. Does it do picking the best? No. Doesn't do anything the best, but it does everything so freaking well. It's a really utilitarian guitar. It just it's it plays so nice. And what's strange is it's got a thicker neck on it. This one's a little thicker than the other one, but I'm not. The neck doesn't bother me. It's a cool sounding guitar. And it does really good when you put distortion on it. Um, I haven't seen Kurt say no. The pickups suck, so it must pass the Kurt test as far as what he's hearing. Um, I don't know. It's a great guitar. You know, as we play guitars, even you can go to the store, you could pick something up, and you go, "Wow, that's a fantastic instrument." I'm not saying that this would be a guitar for me, even though I do bond with it. It's just it blows my mind that that it sounds the way it sounds on clean, and then it turns around and it gets so mean sounding, and the fret the way it feels like it's already broken in. Couple bad notes there. uh it just there's something about it when I'm you don't have to work at it to get the notes to come out. It I'm looking at the way they crowned the frets. It it's kind of like chamfered up and then it eases and then chamfers down like this. It's not how I normally dress a fret. It's not a typical crown. I'm not going to call it a pyramid crown. It's like a mix between the pointy pyramid crown and a flattened crown. It's like they pyramided the side and then the very top they've kind of flattened it. Maybe that's why it has that dig-in feel, but yet it feels so slinky and smooth. If someone has an opinion on fret dressing on how that makes it react, I'd be curious to know. Oh, sorry, honey. Your mic's on.
And you need to look in general in Discord.
I need to look in general in Discord. All right, guys, 1 second while I open up Discord. In general. General. Wow. Yeah. I don't know where the picture of the polka dotted Kramer come from. I missed that guitar. I did sell the guitar. That's too funny. If you guys don't know, go over to Discord. We've got some pretty good computer editing guys here, and they have turned me into a hippie.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt. Oh, that's pretty funny.
You look more like Joe Dirt and Steve's.
Well, did he wear glasses like that? The last photo with me with the polka dotted Kramer, I look like a like a deer with it caught in its headlights.
Steve's picture looks more like Joe Dirt.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, we've got a great crowd, man. That's kind of what it's about. You know, when we get on and we check out different things and we talk about, it's about being funny. Some of these photos, it's pretty good. I'm trying to get better like you guys. If you did notice we did the squirrel pictures, it took me a while to get that. It's of course it's AI generated, but you just can't type in something and let AI, it'll do some weird things. So you got to keep at it. You got to change how you worded it. You got to feed it information, feed it some photos, tell it to blend this and blend that. Um, I'm getting a little better at knowing what I guess it's called Gemini, what Gemini really likes to see. I'm getting a little better at it. I kind of like the little squirrel things that we did for Tech Talk. Um, I did not finish the chapters on that, guys. I got a little bit past the intermission. If you haven't checked out Thursday night stream, please go to the main channel and check out the stream. We had Brian from Shenandoah Music in. He's a full time tech, and I had a lot of fun. I think Brian had a lot of fun too. He was 100% up for coming back in 2 weeks, and I'm going to talk to him some more. And I think if it goes well, the next stream, it might be, well, hopefully it'll be something that we can continue and we can make it a recurring thing on the channel. And maybe it can blossom into being beneficial to you guys. Maybe we can get some different kind of content in here as far as what he sees at the music store and then bringing some stuff in here and showing you guys what to look for when you go to your music store. I thought about that. There's tech tips, tutorials, and then just the general goofing off and chatting. I think it's going to be really cool. Hopefully, the next one's going to go well. I went back and looked at it. I need to give Brian a little bit more space. So I'm going to give Brian a little bit more space, see how he handles it. And I'm sure he's going to handle it well. He's around the public all day long, working on stuff, talking to people about their instruments. He knows how to communicate, if that makes sense. So we're going to open it up, give him some more space, and hopefully it's going to go well. I really do think it's going to go well. I think it's going to be something that we can really sculpt, and it's going to change once he gets his feet rooted and he knows what he's doing. He knows you guys, and I kind of get where he's going, and we can play off one another a little bit. I think it's going to be something really cool. Definitely something I'm looking forward to doing. So again, we're going to do a guitar review or equipment review every other week on Thursday, and then do Tech Talk every other week on Thursday. So it is going to be something that we're going to start doing. But please go back, watch that video, and if you haven't, please make a comment, post what you think, and post something that you'd like us to do, or something Brian, you'd like Brian to do, whether it's a direction that we should go with it or how we should set it up, I guess. What do you guys, I mean, we need to capitalize on Brian's experience. He does it full time. He's seen more guitars than, he sees more guitars in 2 months than I've seen in the last 2 years, if that makes sense. He goes through a lot of different stuff, and that's not including what they're selling. People drop off instruments there to be repaired, whether they bought them there or not. So he sees, well, it's not just guitars. He works on violins and didn't he say ukuleles? One of them he said he can't stand working on.
I think that was a mandolin.
Mandolin. Maybe it was a mandolin. He was like, oh, I like working on those. But it's not just about guitars. It's bass. So we brought the bass in the beginning. So need to capitalize on that. I think I've maybe set up maybe 5 or 6 basses in all my years. It's not something that I see here. Bass players don't come and drop off their basses here. I've done a couple for guys I knew, but it's not something I see much, if that makes sense. Him, on the other hand, he sees a tremendous amount of basses. So that's an area that we can really dig into new content and find out what he thinks. We have done very little reviews on basses. So if you're thinking about buying a bass, that might be something good to bring up to him. I mean, he's worked on a lot of them. They sell a lot of different basses there. So he can probably give you an opinion on what he feels the best bang for the buck.
Billy said if you want views, do a quick video of setting up guitars to general maintenance. Shorts will get you views.
Yeah, well, this channel isn't much on short video content. If you guys, I mean, if if you want a channel to grow, do the exact opposite of what we do here. That's really, I'm not overly interested in having a lot of subscribers just to have subscribers, if that makes sense. I would rather have half the subscribers and have, people like you, Billy, and Devastator, and Steve, and Kurt, people that are really into it. You know, Ryan P, Time Surfing Alien, Trucker Bob. If I'm missing you, it's nothing against you. But everyone that comes in here loves music and they have an opinion. And from what I've seen, they're willing to post, this is what I think, you know, and that's cool. I would much rather have that, if that makes sense. If I wanted to grow the channel subscriber base, I would do like everyone else does. I'd do clickbait titles. I would do, I would figure out what everyone's clicking on, and I'd make a video with that kind of title, and it would just be your typical YouTube video. Um, there's enough of that on YouTube. There's enough of the 20-minute content. If you look, most videos are 15 to 20 minutes. Why? It's what YouTube wants. Shorts. Why? Because TikTok. YouTube wants to compete with TikTok. They like shorts. I'm just not that kind of person. I would rather come in and talk details. And I get it. There's a whole nother group out there that doesn't have the attention span, and that's fine. Eventually, if they become serious or they want to know more, they'll have to come check out other channels. I'm not the only channel doing long format content. There's people that do video equipment that do long content. Of course, they don't have the subscriber count as the other ones. But when I'm wanting to find out video or mixing content, there's a couple channels that I turn to, and they do long format. And it's not your typical, yeah, it's great. They get into the why and how, and they talk in a fashion that I can understand. So I sub to them, if that makes sense. And that's everyone's different. You guys are here because you like this type of format. And that doesn't mean that you don't watch the other. It's just, I don't know. Our live streams are usually 2 hours. My guitar reviews, even before we did live, were an hour and a half to 2 hours and 15 minutes because very few people take the guitar apart or check the intonation and do the things that I'm doing. I know there's some other channels that just started doing a little bit better review, and that's probably because we've been doing it for 3.5 years, and maybe they just kind of figure, well, this is how you do it. It's a big pond, if that makes sense. So everyone has a different personality. So if it changes, it changes. I don't want to do the Balt Shredder review. I don't want to do a Philip McKnight review. I don't want to do what's some other guys that review guitars. I don't want to do a Trogley review. I think I have my own little spin on it, if that makes sense. Especially now that we're doing the live review, it's a little different. It's definitely easier on me. I guess that's all I can say. I can't do too much more than I'm doing already, guys, because if I do, then I have to make YouTube my job. And the point in it is, it's not my job. I love music, and I figure I can contribute, because I'm a woodworker and I'm a guitar tech and I'm a guitar player. So I concentrate on those particular items because that's my strong points, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's just my thought. You guys can tell me what you think. That's how I kind of view it, if that makes sense. Let me open up the chat. Are we missing anything, hun?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But going back to this guitar, I think we should give Court. What's sad is there's very few stores that put Court out on the floor, and it could be one of those things where it just comes down to price point. if you put cord out on the floor and you're buying with Fender and Jackson and all these other companies, you got too many of these on the floor and people pick them up. Are they still going to pay the extra money for the Jackson? Um, I think this hits all the points of a far more expensive instrument, and I'm gonna say these things. The locking tuners are good. These are good locking tuners. It has lumen late dots up here, so when you're playing live, that's helpful. Okay, it feels nice and smooth. It has a nice neck. Okay, the strings don't jump in the nut. The tremolo works so well, it's almost scary that it's not a non-locking tremolo. The fit and finish on the guitar is superb, and the factory pickups are awesome. They're good all around pickups. So if you're doing a variety band and you're out doing and playing a bunch of different styles, this is it. Um, this is probably one of the best guitars I've played that I would not hesitate. I would look at this guitar and go, it's a plus that I have this guitar if I was in a variety band because it's so capable of doing so many different things and it's comfortable. That's what you want. You want something comfortable and it's at a good price point. I mean, it's right. It's actually below the mean price of a guitar, and I'd say the average price is going to be $700 to $900 for a good guitar. For a good guitar, I'm going to say that this is better than any $700 to $900 guitar. Okay, it's going to be as good or better. Okay, and it's less money. That's what we're talking about. So the channel is about trying to find good guitars at good prices. And this is not a cheap guitar. I'm not saying that this is a budget instrument. It's not. But it's a great guitar at a great price. So this qualifies for what this channel looks for. Now, if you don't like the name on the headstock, that's on you. I don't care. It could be made by Joe Blow Bubblegum Factory. I don't care. If it sounds good and it plays good, I don't care what the name up. I'm not brand loyal. I'm not. Oh, it's got to be a budget guitar. Oh, it's got to be a Shure. It's got to be a PRS. Oh, you didn't pay $1,500 for it. It's a piece of junk.
I want a guitar with that name on it. You just said.
You want a Court?
No, the Joe Blow Bubble Gum, whatever it was.
Joe Blow Bubblegum Factory, whatever it may be. Squirrel Guitars Inc. I don't. I'm not buying it for the name on the headstock. I'm buying it because there was something about the guitar that I liked, and I don't care if it's a Fender. I don't care if it's a Leo James. I don't care if it's a Court or a Squire, a Schecter. There's a reason why I bought it. And it had nothing to do with the name. It had to do with I wanted a guitar to do this with. This guitar, it falls in a different category. This is the kind of guitar you buy if you can't really pick between the Shredder or the Telecaster or the Strat and a Les Paul. This is your guitar because it's going to do a little bit of everything, and it's going to do everything extremely well. So that's what I wouldn't go into the store going, I need this guitar to play this style of music. I don't think that was their intention. I think their intention was to take market share away from the Ibanez AZs and some of the Shure, guitars. Believe it or not, I think the Shure makes a lot of what they call working man guitars. They bunch of different sounds, play great. That's the audience they're shooting for. Jackson, on the other hand, I don't really think Jackson has like a working class. They're more metal oriented, if that makes sense. I think Charvel does make a couple more open models. I think this is more targeted towards the musician that plays a bunch of different stuff, that just needs one good solid axe, and that's the only guitar they have. This is it. If you've got to have one guitar and that's me included. If I had to have one guitar, and you had to make me pick between my new guitars, I would probably take this one because I can still do my kooky tremolo stuff, but yet I can still get my nice clean sounds. I can do some crazy tremolo crap with it. Let me see here. Ooh, that's loud. Ooh, that's right. We added. I gotta take the effect off. Sorry, guys. That's how I would approach the instrument. See, I've changed all the tuning on it. All right, maybe we've got it set since I lowered the tuning and did that drop tuning stuff. What's that, hon?
Oh, I was just gonna say now that I can't hear anything.
I apologize. I have been working on this, guys. So that's the one high gain. This is the other high gain. You can hear that one's a lot less bitey and it's more bottom end focused.
Does
And
that thing not stay in tune?
yeah, I had an issue when you adjust it out. This bridge is so floaty. What ends up happening if you bend over and you don't have the tension right here, it'll go out pretty quickly. But once you get it right, she holds. You have to go back and watch the review. We tuned it once, but I've had it in so many weird tunings. It's taken a little while for me to get the string pressure right. So I gotta sit there. I gotta be pretty. That's being abusive on it. I gotta get it stretched out. much on that one. The way I play, guys, I'm really aggressive on a guitar. So what I've noticed on this guitar is the B. Okay, the B is pretty touchy, and this is all stock. This guitar was never set up. This is fresh out of the box. So what I would do with this guitar is I would come back in here on the back side of this nut, and I would ease this nut filing. And then looking at this right here, it does need a little bit of adjustment on the string height. If I took about 10 minutes and loosened the strings and went over the nut on it, it would be far better. Plus, I have done nothing to the nut. The nut's dry. So this is just out of the box. It does rather well. It really does. I'm highly impressed with it. Uh, like I said, it's not my guitar, or I would do it. If I just went downstairs and got some Diodario, the nut lube, and just put a little bit in it, it would fix it. But that's a temporary fix. It's better to keep it dry and work on that nut, the relieving cut on the back of the nut. If you look right here, how the string comes out of the nut, what's most likely happening, they haven't eased that into the nut. So you want it to come through, but as it goes to the nut, you want it to ease it through. And the back of that cut needs to be a little bit lower than the string angle coming out. And that allows it to slide and move effortlessly. I think it needs just a little bit of work there. See, it's the B. Hear it? That time it's the E. Hear it? Now I had to go down in tune. So that's telling me when I bend up, try it one more time. If it isn't able to slip back, it'll hang up and the note will go sharp.
Is that the G290 Fat 2?
Yes, this is the G90 Fat 2. Yeah, I think it needs a little work on the back side of the nut to get that. And what I would do is I would do a setup on it. Now, if you guys want, the guitar belongs to Shenandoah Music. So you guys see what it's doing. That could be not this Thursday, but next Thursday's project. When Brian comes, we could say, okay, Brian, this is what the guitar is doing out of the box. What would you do to it before you put it out on the floor? and we can kind of see how he would approach fixing that for, before it goes out on the floor. Um, I'm pretty sure he would cut out the backside of the nut on it a little bit. He'd probably put a little Denario nut lube on it, and then give it a setup, because this guitar has had nothing. That was the whole pointing, getting the guitar fresh out of the box. I just think it's a great guitar.
Kurt said the problem I have with that guitar is for the new player, $700, and it won't hold tune very well. You can get an Ibanez Geo that holds tune for 300 with a crap trim.
You can, and the tune is getting me this time. And what's weird is during the review we only tuned it once, so it doesn't like retuning, because I had it in drop D, a half step down, and then when I tuned it up to 440 standard, now it's struggling up here. So it's not here because there's not even one wrap on the post. So that's telling me when it goes sharp, it's hanging up on the nut right here. Um, it is what it is. It's about truth, but I also know that that's easy to fix. That's why I'm loving the guitar so much. Was yours come that way? I have no idea. I just know that seems to be doing it more tonight than it did the night that we reviewed it. And Kurt, I don't really think the guitar is intended for a beginner. I think this guitar, like I said, is targeted towards the AZ Ibanez. It's not targeted towards a Geo or anything else. And if you talk to Brian that was just here, Brian, he does a lot of work to those Geos when before they go out on the floor. That's why he was like, well, Ibanez isn't his favorite brand. They sell a lot of $400 and lower Ibanezes at the store. So he sees a lot of them. A lot of them come across his bench, and he does X to them before they go out on the floor. And that's nothing against a Geo. The Geo's a $225 guitar. The bridge isn't as good, and I wouldn't expect it to be. Um, it has those other pickups in it, and I don't care for those pickups. But again, it's a 225. I think the one you were looking at was what, 219?
I think so.
Linnell wants one.
Oh yeah, I do.
They're great guitars. It's a $219 guitar. This is a far better guitar, if that makes sense. It all comes down to buying. If I had to pick the Ibanez that she's looking at versus a Firefly or a Leo James, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's that much difference in them. I don't. The guitar I have downstairs for Trucker Bob, I think I would pay $219 for that guitar before I spent $219 on the Ibanez. That's just me. I think that would be something I could mod and make my own over the Ibanez. And because the Ibanez has that, on the Geos, they use like the fender bridge. I think some of them have the 2-post and some of them have the 6-screw like fender bridge. You can get a good one, yeah, but if I go to the Leo James for $219, it at least has the generic Floyd Rose. So I can put a Goth in it, and I can put better pickups in it and better tuner on it, and I'll have a better guitar for me. If you don't mind the bridge that comes on the Geo, you could probably put a Vega trim in it, which is more money than the Goth. You're definitely going to be changing the pickups in it if you want something. The cheap Ibanez pickups are pretty rough. You might be able to get away with the stock tuners on the Ibanez, but I think they're about the same. I think they're equivalent, unless you get a bad one. I got a Leo James downstairs that's unplayable. It was unplayable out of the box. It depends on what you get. I've received Fireflies, that were, okay, and some that were great. I've never received a really horrible Firefly. I've had them where they didn't set it on the CNC machine right, and the grain's going crossways to the neck, but the instrument still played. Got a guitar from West Creek, and out of the box it was unplayable. The neck was backbowed, and you couldn't. It just you hit the strings, and all the strings were laying on the frets out of the box. So if a mother and father bought that guitar for their kid, it would have went back to Amazon. That was a $150 guitar. So I really think anything under 300 bucks, it's kind of amazing that it plays out of the box, if that makes sense. I know I've kind of changed my opinion on that, but things have gotten so expensive, and we have to keep things, you know, in line. Again, this morning I put $115 worth of gas in my van. It's $150. It's going to go 4 days. That West Creek was 139 bucks, and all I did was adjust the truss rod. And that guitar, it was a single P90 West Creek, double cut. I did a review. It's been a long time ago. It was a great guitar. You know, it wasn't the best P90, no, but for 150 bucks, that was a hell of a guitar. But out of the box, it had a bad problem. It wasn't just the nut; it was the neck was bowed back. That would have went back to Amazon because it was non-playable. The typical person buying an instrument for their child to learn would just say this thing's messed up. They wouldn't have known to take the cover off and adjust the truss rod to fix it. And that's all I did, and it played great. I don't know, the Geo stuff's okay. I guess I gotta keep in mind that we're here trying to find good guitars. Um, the Geo, I think she's looking at. I played one; it seemed to play okay. The pickups aren't that good on it, but like I said, it's a $219 guitar. You're going to get maybe a little bit better pickup at the Firefly. I think Leo James, the Monsoon, if you can, I haven't reviewed one in a while. I think the Monsoon is a good guitar, especially if you can get it on sale. It goes on sale for $159. That's kind of hard to beat. And just when you get it, make sure you get one that's halfway decent, that doesn't have a really, really bad fretwork. I mean, it's not going to be good no matter what. It's Leo James. But they do have some that are acceptable. The two that I ordered, it was acceptable. The guitars played out of the box, and it didn't really hurt them, but it was still bad fretwork. It's a $160 guitar, and it's got good pickups on it. The pickups sounded good. It's a fixed tail, so you just got to make sure your nuts cut right, maybe put some better tuners on that guitar, and I think then you're going to have a good, solid little beater, if that makes sense. The Leo James tuners, don't ever buy a Leo James and think you're going to keep the tuners. Just when you order it, order a pair of tuners with it. Anything's going to be better than what that guitar comes with. So I would put tuners on it and cut the nut really good on the Monsoon. You're going to have about the same as the Geo at $219. So before I bought the Geo, I would definitely buy a Monsoon, and I would probably put a set of hip shot tuners. I could find a set for $50. Put those on it, cut the nut, and that would be my beater if I wanted a hardtail. If someone disagrees with me, and a better guitar, we're talking $219. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're talking at $219. Can someone think of a better platform other than the Monsoon that you could do for $219? And the reason I point out the Monsoon is I know the pickups are decent. It's a fixed tail, so you don't have to worry about the tremolo. So at that point, it just comes down to making sure the tuners hold and make sure the nut's right. So at $160, I know I can get on Amazon. I can get one right now. There'll be one on sale. It may not like the color, but One of those models will be 159.
Beretta Vandy said he got a Kramer Striker FR 422 at a pawn shop the other day. Had to fix 2 frets and adjust the locking nut, and it shreds, and he paid $100 for it.
Yeah. Well, we're talking new. Yeah, a Kramer Striker, they were good guitars. There was nothing wrong with the Strikers. I don't bring up pawn stores and used because that really depends on your area, if that makes sense. Um, there's a couple good buys on Marketplace right now that we feel are good buys. That doesn't mean if I bring it up and say, oh, you can get a Fender Squire vintage vibe for $100 all day long, mint condition on Marketplace. Well, maybe here you can, but where you're at, you can't. Does that kind of make sense? So I don't really bring up used too much just for that reason. Your area is going to be completely different than my area. Squires in my area don't seem to sell for too much for whatever reason. And what's another good one? Charvels, for whatever reason. We're not talking expensive Charvels. We're talking the $800 Charvels. In this area, people usually take a beating on them. But you're not going to buy even a used Charvel that's semi-new for $100. We were just talking new. I'm trying to think of something better than that, than the Monsoon. It works because it's fixed tail, if that makes sense. If I wanted to go to a floating bridge, I almost hate to say it, but again, as much as I dislike Leo James for their fretwork, the Leo James Bob dropped off here for $219. That's a heck of a mod platform. The pickups on that guitar I don't think are quite as good as the Monsoon ones. So, but they're decent. They're not horrible. You can buy that guitar, figure on locking tuners and a Godot bridge. That's $200. So that puts you at $419. Put a set of guitar head pickups in it. Now you're under $500. But you're doing the work yourself. So cost-wise, I think it's a lot of bang for your buck. Hipshot tuners, Godot bridge, guitar head pickups in the Leo James, was that Typhoon? Is that what
Tsunami.
Tsunami. That would be hard, but that's a lot of work. You got to pull the bridge, and you got to hope the Godot fits without modifying the route.
Isn't that what Bob's is, a Tsunami?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's downstairs. And I already know that we have to modify the route just a little bit because the nut on the Godot bridge right here is larger than the Floyd Rose on the bottom, the keeper. So when you put the Godot in and it's routed for a Floyd, sometimes that bottom cup that holds the mounting plate for the bar, it's much bigger. And that nut, they're using a big brass nut, will rub the side of the route. That's something that you got to pay attention to. Sometimes it routes, and I know it does on the Tsunami. So we're going to have to go in there and we're going to have to clean the route just a little bit for that nut to clear.
Bob says he has 2 dual rails for it. He'll drop off later.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's kind of hard to beat, but again, you're doing the work yourself. Guys, I'm not here to say one way is better than the other. I guess that what I've learned, I've been doing reviews now for 3.5 years. And what I've learned is no matter what, you're going to put the money in it. Whether you buy the guitar and you buy the parts and you like hot rodding it, either way, you're going to put money in it. If you buy a more expensive instrument, you're buying that because you're hoping you don't have to put pickups in it or do this or that. With this guitar, if you buy at a reputable shop, they would see that the string is hanging up here and they would cut the nut. Just like Brian at Shenandoah, this guitar, when it hit the floor, wouldn't have this problem because he would have cleaned out the nut. It would have went out on the floor. So when you go into a reputable shop, you can pick a guitar up like this. As long as it's had a good setup at the shop, it should be a good guitar. Okay? You shouldn't have any issues with it. That's why you're paying more money for it. Either way, we're talking the same money. Because as much as you all don't, your time is worth something. Okay, even at $500, if I can spend $100 more and I can go into the music store and I can buy a guitar that's going to do exactly what that Leo James is doing for $100 more after I buy all the parts, people are, it's $100 more. Yeah, it's $100 more, but I didn't have to pull the guitar apart, put new strings on it, you know, change the route a little bit for the new bridge to fit. I didn't have to swap the tuners, swap the pickups, do all this work. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. But again, like I said, if you like doing it, then great. I like doing it too. I don't want anyone coming into the channel and say, well, Avery said this. There's pros and cons to both. And like you guys get on me because I had Brian set up my FMT. There's something to be said when you go into a music store and I played the guitar and I knew the guitar played nice. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to set it up because I looked at it. It had the typical Fender setup. And Fender sets their guitars up high. Why? They want to make sure they play and there's no dead notes. That's why all these companies set their instruments up high. So I went up to them and I said, I want to buy this. I want a case for it. And I want Brian to go through the guitar and give it a good setup and make sure the guitar is right. And I said, what's all that going to cost me? They gave me a price. I'm like, make it happen. And I brought the guitar home and I haven't had to do anything to it. And it was, well, I don't remember what they charged me, but Brian went through, he double checked all the frets, cut the nut, set my action height, set the intonation. He did all that. The guitar's, it's a nice guitar and it's got a good setup on it, but I paid for it. You know, everyone has, I guess, a different, would Kurt go into a music store and pay someone else to set the guitar up? I don't know. Would Bob do it? Probably not. Would Devastator? I don't know. Is there anyone here that would pay extra at the music store for a setup? Me, even being a tech, I don't mind doing it. There's something to be said for just going into the store and saying, I really like this guitar. I want you guys to go through it and make sure it's 100%. And I know you're thinking, well, if you like it, why are you going through it? Because like Brian just said the other stream, you can always make it a little better. And I'm not asking, I didn't expect Brian to put 5 hours labor in that guitar. I wanted him to make sure the guitar didn't do what this one's doing, that the string isn't catching on the nut. Okay, I want to make sure that the nut's cut properly. How much space do we have here? I want him to check the intonation, set it to my action height. And if there's any high frets, go through it, clean it up, make sure it doesn't buzz at my action height. It doesn't mean the fret level. It means take it down to my action height, double check it. If there's any frets causing an issue, you correct those frets for that setup. That's what a store setup is. You might still have a couple high frets, but they're not causing a playing issue or a buzzing issue because the guitar has been set up for that action height, and the tech has went through and he's said, okay, here's his action height. And he's going through all that. He's going to make sure there's no buzz. If it doesn't buzz and it's not causing any fret out issues, as long as it doesn't fret out, that's a good setup. You're not paying him $300 to go through and make sure the frets are perfect. They don't need to be, because you've given him an action height and you've given the tech where it needs to be. And he's going to say, okay. And that's a basic setup. And that's what I had him do. Depends on if they have time to do it myself or not. Yeah, I did it because I just didn't want to mess with it. If I buy a guitar, let's say I buy this guitar, okay? I know I have to go in and clean the nut, okay? This isn't a big deal. I wouldn't have an issue because most factory setup guitars, the nut needs a little bit of work. Again, they're going to set it up high because they don't want to have problems. This doesn't concern me because I don't care whose guitar you buy, you're going to have to work on the nut. And it's going to be set just a fraction on the high side. Unless it's a custom order, sure, or something, and you've told them what you want. Anything under $1,500, you're going to be doing a little nut work on the guitar. You're going to, trust me, to get it where you want it. I don't have an issue with that, but I think if I bought this guitar and I went into a store and I had it, I'd just go, okay, guys, this is what it's doing. Can you just ask them? Can you give the guitar a setup and I'll buy it? Don't say how much is the setup. Can you do a proper setup on this guitar and I will buy it? And that's part of the setup. And then ask them, say, are you guys going to double check the nut and make sure the strings are clearing right? That's how I would approach it. And it's just like for them, instead of asking for 10%, Brian used to sub off Shenandoah Music. He's a subcontractor. So instead of asking for 10% on $1,000 guitar, that's $100. Well, they're not paying their tech $100. Okay. Even though a setup is usually $150. They're probably paying that tech a flat rate, probably 50, 65, $70 per guitar. So they're going to look at it. Yeah, we'll give you a free setup. Because on their end, they're only fronting part of what 10% would be. On your end, you're seeing a $150 freebie, which is actually better than 10% off. And that's not saying all stores would do that, but you learn to work with your store a little bit. We're about honesty here. I can't be any more honest than that. My opinion changes like the wind on certain things. It really does. I think your all's does too. If your opinion, if someone says, well, I've changed my opinion, so you're still playing the same guitar you started with, and you're still playing the exact same distortion pedal, and you're still playing the same amp that you started with.
Potentially Work says, do you set your action higher because you play with Monster Truck Force?
I set my action a little higher because it just resonates a little better and it doesn't choke the harmonics. When you slam your action, it really deadens the harmonics of the guitar. But if you're a super fast shredder, which I am not, you like that lower action because it's less reach over and your fingers have to do less work. But if you watch my guitar playing, I don't play like that. I waste a lot of energy moving my fingers. So I'm not a disciplined, I guess you could call it, guitar player. I do. I play aggressively and I flop my fingers around and I play a certain way. But that gives me the sound that's me, if that makes sense.
Kurt,
And I just found that the little bit higher action works better for me.
Kurt said, I always do all my own setups, but I have had a few guitars set up for me in the past.
Yeah. At some point, it's like I said, I just went in and I told Linnell, I don't want to mess with it. Because she knows every guitar I buy, I tinker with. And I said, you don't want to buy something and I don't want to tinker with it. Where can I do that? And I'm thinking, so well, the only person I trust to do anything is Brian. So let's go to Sandor Music and kind of want to tell him. Went in there and they had this FMT and I like Les Pauls, but I don't like the weight. So I'm like, okay, here's this Fender FMT with dual humbuckers, set neck. I played it. I loved it. Looked pretty. I just said, okay, guys, I want this guitar with a nice tweed case and a solid setup. Give me a package deal. They gave me a price. It was $1,250 or something for the guitar, the tweed case, and the setup. And that might sound like a lot of money for an Indonesian Fender, but it's not. It's got Pearly Gate Seymour Duncan pickups in it. It's got that upgraded Fender bridge. It's got beautiful tuners on it. And it's got that beautiful neck on that guitar. If you guys remember, it's got the white. It's just a phenomenally made instrument, and it's well set up now because Brian did it. Yeah,
Mechanic
I've got a
Jam.
great case.
Mechanic Jam says I don't have an amp. I use two Mackie Thumpers with my Fractal FX3.
Mackie Thumpers. Oh, yeah. So you're doing what I always say. Who put that up?
Mechanic Jams.
Oh, I don't know if has he posted here before?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I say that all the time. Come out of your little modeler to two powered PA speakers. I think that's a heck of a rig. I really do. I'm glad to see somebody other than me has thought about it, and then someone that's I don't even. Well, I guess technically I do it. I have two Wolfdale drivers, but they're not powered. I'm powering them with a Crown amplifier. But I'm doing the exact same thing when I play here. I very rarely plug into my rack amp anymore. I just plug right into the Line 6 or the Yamaha, and it goes through the wing rack into the Crown amplifier into my Wolfdale array speakers. I think it's great. He says I'm new. Cool. I thanks so much for checking out the channel, man. We're all here just saying what we use and why we use it. That's what it's about. Um, Everyone knows that I kind of jump around a little bit. Like right now, I'm using the Line 6. And I always tell people what I think. Right now, I'm struggling with the Line 6. Everything I do on it, it just kind of sounds like there's a blanket over it. It sounds like someone put a big fluffy blanket over your speaker cabinet. I'm just struggling with it. I'm struggling with it so much that I've been thinking about going back to the little Yamaha desktop amp and just coming right out of the headphone jack into one of the channels. I think for what the Yamaha is, it's it just works and it's got good tone. Yeah, sometimes it's not about you just got to pick what works for you. Right now, I think the Yamaha just has a more natural sound. This sounds so scratchy and dull sounding. And if you once you get it out of the doll, then it starts getting like tinny and scratchy sounding. I, I I'm sure they're great. It's on my end, and I keep saying I need to learn, but I'm just not getting it. And that doesn't mean that tonight I might tinker with it, and I'm putting something in front of something that shouldn't be there, and I just have my effects chain in a disorderly fashion. There are so many ways of changing the tone and the way it processes. I just got to keep tinkering with it. But right now, I'm not overly impressed with the HX stomp. That's just me. Thinking about getting the Behringer X32. I have the wing. Love my wing. If you can afford to get the wing, get the wing.
He's gonna get the rack.
Yeah,
The X32 rack.
Yeah. The only reason I say that is the X32 has been made for a very long time. So it will be on the chopping block next. So when they come out with the next gen, the wing rack will take the X32's place, and then the new Cadillac model. It depends on Behringer on how long they support the product. So right now the wing has been out for what 2 years, and they're still supporting the X32. It comes down to what Kurt and I were talking about going with the new Helix. Well, not the new Helix, the older Helix rack mount, because the Stadium's out. The Helix rack has come down in price. How long are they going to support the Helix, the original formatted Helix? I don't know. I don't know what I know there's a good probably $800 or $900 difference between the X32 and the wing, so I get it. I did look at the X32. The main reason I didn't do it is one, the screen, and every channel on the wing rack is stereo. The X32 is not. So you technically only have 16 channels if you go stereo. Granted, you're not doing stereo on everything, but every channel on the wing is stereo. So I have 48 stereo channels. That gives me 96 channels, quote, or something like that. Granted, you can't plug 48 things into it. You have to buy a stage expansion rack with 16 inputs and 16 outs. But you have, I think it's 24 inputs, I think, on the back. So you got plenty of inputs before you need to buy a Stage Connect or a Midas expansion piece for it. I think either way you go, man, they're great. It's a great bang for your buck. Um,
He said he's just a bedroom musician and just play for fun.
yeah, that's technically all I do, man, too. So in that case, I don't think you can beat. I think the X32 is like $900. That's hard to beat. And another way you can look at it, the X32 has been out, and they have all the bugs worked out of that. Unlike the one that I have, they're still doing massive updates. They're still making changes, working some of the bugs out of it, even after 2 years.
Vox wants to know, can you plug in Linnell Cam to it?
I'm trying to do that, Vox.
Y'all are awful.
No, we need a camera, honey.
No.
They need to see you, baby.
Well, I don't know why.
Oh, everyone, that's the ongoing joke
Junk?
here. Yeah, it's a joke. We keep talking about it. I do have another camera I could spin around and point in the kitchen so you guys could see her.
I don't have a mute button, so you better watch what you say.
I think Kurt is thinking about doing a digital rack as well. I don't know what he was thinking about doing. I think he said he was going to go X32 as well. I'm pretty sure he could post in there. I think the X32 is probably the best bang for your buck. And like I said, all the bugs are worked out of it. They've already gotten all the little weird things taken care of. I still struggle with some things, and all you got to do is go back and listen to the streams. I still struggle with a couple things the wing rack does. Yeah, Kurt says yes, the X32. Yeah, there's a crap ton more X32s out doing their job versus wing racks because they've been making them, and they've already proven that they're roadworthy. So that's one way you can look at it. The wing rack hasn't proven itself yet. They might start dropping off like flies in the next 2 or 3 years. You know, a good product, it takes a while before you realize, is this thing roadworthy? You know, is it going to survive, dropping it around, moving around, unplugging stuff? The X32 has been out for like what, I think 9 years now. So it's proven itself. It's a solid platform.
Mechanic Jam says, so all you do is gear review, or do you do any jams?
We do gear reviews and tech talk. But yeah, I do jam on the guitar a little bit. I'm not playing too much tonight. Just not playing. I got stuff on my hands. I worked all day today. My hands are really sore. We don't do too much just like jamming to backing tracks and stuff like that. We more come in, we talk about products, and then everyone talks about products that they bought or stuff that they're interested in. We do guitar reviews, gear reviews, and then we'll go over like effects. Like let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see. Let me pull that up and let me switch cameras. So a lot of times we'll go through, like this is my line 6. So we'll go through, okay, what am I doing, with the distortion, the boost pedal. How's my amp set? Here's the amp settings. Here's the delay settings. And we'll go through and we'll play around with how we do our effects chains. What happens when we put the delay, before the chorus or the chorus after, or the EQ behind the amp or in front of the amp. Everything makes a difference on how you do things.
Mechanic.
So we've done that quite a bit too.
Mechanic Jam said you sounded like you have some nice chops.
I do everyone has good and bad nights. Tonight I seem to be struggling a little bit, and that could just be because of the strings slipping on the guitar. There's some nights I go back and I listen to the stream and I just got it. That my cadence is on, my timing's on, it's flowing out naturally. I think everyone that plays guitar can kind of understand what I'm talking about. some nights it just comes out of you, and those are the nights I go wow. And then there's nights it's like wow, I'm really playing bad tonight. That's just part of it, if that makes sense. We're here to be real, if that makes sense. We're not trying to be anything that we're not. Um, I'm a professional CNC operator. I wrote programs for CNC machines.
Oh, happy now.
There's Mrs. Linnell. uh, and I do woodworking and I do tech work on the side. So I take that, and that I guess qualifies me to do guitar reviews. We look at fit and finish, and then we talk about the past. Like, I don't know if you were here before break. We were talking about playing out live and song selections and what the things you should do as a band before you go out and play. The homework you should do. So a lot of times we just talk about stuff like that, man. Wicked Fester. I have a Yamaha 16XU. It's all analog, but USB conductive. Uh, Wicked Fester, they just got a brand new Yamaha. It's not like the one that I have, the AG08. They just come out with a new 16 channel that has a built-in interface on it. And I'll be honest with you, that board, it looks a lot like the Personas one that Steve was looking for. That's a really cool. I think they make a 16 and a 24 channel. Check that thing out, Wicked Fester. It's an awesome Yamaha board. I had no problems whatsoever with my Yamaha AG08. Yamaha makes awesome products. I haven't had a Yamaha product that's let me down. Whether it's been a guitar, an amplifier, or a mixing board. They make, well, Yamaha owns Line 6. So the Helix, the Stadium, the Stomp, uh, the Yamaha I was just talking about up here, this Yamaha desktop amp, this HR10 or whatever it is, solid products. I can't say enough. I say it all the time. Yamaha does not get the love they deserve with like the Revstar, the Pacifica, some of their hollow bodies. Their acoustics are phenomenal for the price tag. And then their sound reinforcement stuff. They just make good stuff. And they make great motorcycles and great jet skis. Just saying.
Kurt says I love Yamaha keyboards.
Yes. I didn't go Yamaha. I was always a Korg guy. Kurt, I know Yamaha always wanted a DX7. Didn't get one. But this time around, when I was looking, I looked at Yamaha, I looked at Korg, and some other brand, and I ended up buying the Akai MPC 61. For me, I thought it had the best bang for the buck. I didn't want to spend more than $1,700. And that's hard to get a Yamaha product or a Korg at 1,700 that does what the Akai MPC 61 does. It's not the best at anything, but it's phenomenal for its price tag. I think it's the Moog or whatever it is that Yamaha makes. That's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal unit. And the new Korg units are phenomenal too. So I don't play keyboard a lot. Yeah, if I had to pick, I would probably go Yamaha if I wanted to go high-end synth. $300 off Apollo interfaces if anyone is looking. That's searching for tone. Is that off all their interfaces, Brian, or is that just off because they make a couple different Apollos. Don't they make like a 4-channel, an 8-channel, and a 16 Apollo?
Kurt said I don't like the weighted keys on Akai keyboards. They just don't feel right.
They did make changes. Go try an MPC 61. It's not like the smaller MPC, and it's not like the other Akai, the small ones. It's I didn't think so either, but after playing it reminds me. I'm going to say it's a little bit lighter feel than what Korg has. The Yamaha has more of a bounce weighted feel. The Akai is similar to that, but it's not as firm feeling, if that makes sense.
Searching for Tone said it looks like the twin. The rest seem to be 200 off.
Oh, okay.
And Beretta Vandy said still got a Nord keyboard.
Nothing wrong with that either, man. That's a good keyboard too. I had an M1 and I was a dummy and I sold it. I loved my M1. It had a sequencer in it. Um, there's a couple keyboards that just were standards.
Mechanic Jam says if you go keyboard, go Kronos.
Yes, that's the Kronos is Korg. I'm pretty sure, isn't it? I think the Kronos is Korg. I'm not. I think the first standard I'd say was the DX7. The second standard would probably be the Korg M1, and then you had a bunch of off the walls. You had Kurzweil made some really kooky ones, but I think as far as standards and the sounds that you hear a lot and you don't realize, the DX7 and the M1, those two keyboards changed synth. They really did. I'm sure there's been another one after the M1. I'm just not thinking about it. Moog, yes. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good ones, guys. There really are. Moog is good stuff. There's so many of them. Like I said, I don't think you're gonna buy a Moog for $1,700 that'll do what my MPC does. The drawback the MPC has, and it's pretty well known, it's a little slow, and it uses a lot of system resources to create its complicated voices. So when you change sounds, it's slow on the change. The processing speed, the processors, it just can't switch quickly, and there's very little memory. Now I did put a larger drive in mine, but out of the box, there's not much storage there. So I put think I put a 3 terabyte drive in mine.
Vox said you say M1 and I think firearms.
Yeah. Well, they made a T1, the T2, T3, that came after the M1, and they're probably better keyboards. But they were all the engine, the sound engine is based off the M1. And the original M1 had certain sounds that got on a ton of records that you don't realize how many of those sounds were just stock M1 sounds, just like the DX7. You know, the DX7, the stock sounds are on thousands of different songs. It's amazing. It's like saying how many songs were done with a Marshall. Thousands, thousands. And that's what you can say about the M1. That's what you can say about the DX7. And that doesn't mean that Moog and all these other companies aren't in thousands too, but those two products I think really changed since. They were big leaps.
Trevor Bob said they have one Moog over 98,000.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, there's always the one. You know, just like if you get into high end mixing boards, they can hit 100 grand plus. You know, if you go to a really high end studio, they're still going to have tube mic preamps. They're still going to have tube compressors, tube limiters. They're going to have one or two of all that type stuff. Um, they might even actually still have some reel to reel or some analog type recording devices along with their digital stuff. You know, it it comes down to that's a completely different world than the world that we're in. You know, those guys are that's a completely other level. I used to know the guy played in wasn't Short Bus, it was School Bus. School Bus was the name of the band. The keyboard player played with oh a guy that wrote Born in the USA.
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen. He was Bruce Springsteen's keyboard player when his main player dropped out of the band or got sick for like 2 years. This guy stepped up and he was Bruce Springsteen's keyboard player. Phenomenal keyboard player. Oh, I mean, he had the 3 keyboards here and 3 keyboards. He'd sit there and he had equipment like that. The $10,000-$20,000 keyboard and the mini sequencer, and he could move this sound to this one to that one. That's stuff that I've never done. He was a master at it. I forget the guy's name. He's local to the Winchester area. Um, yeah, I don't know much about that kind of stuff. I just know when I had my little studio with my 2 ADATs, I had 2 blackface ADATs. I liked the M1 because it had the sequencer, and I had 8 tracks on the M1. So that added tracks to the studio, and then I had 8 tracks on the TSR8. Plenty of tracks, 32 tracks of junk that we could put down, and I could, if I needed to, the TSR8 was analog. I could put the analog stuff, there. I could do the keys and if whatever else, you know, in the M1, and I'd still have 16 tracks on the ADAT to do whatever I wanted to do. Um, for me, that was like the holy grail setup. But in reality, back then, that was nothing because they were running what I forget was an HD32 hard disk recorder. We had just come out, and everyone was going hard disk recording. And then Akai come out with their version of the hard disk. Um, it was completely different. That whole era kind of came and went pretty quick because when it went from ADAT to hard disk didn't stick around too long because then went straight into computing because that hard disk machine was basically a computer. And once they realized, these new programs and people were buying special cards to put in their computer, the hard disk rack mount, you know, recording solution didn't stick around long. People just went right to like computer tracking like Reaper and stuff like that. So it didn't last too long. I would love to have one of those old hard disk recorders. They just for the novelty of it to be able to play around with it. It would be cool. Uh, a good Moog is expensive. Yeah, I agree with that. Ozzy's keyboard player had a Moog. Yeah. Uh, yeah, John Lord. That's not his name. That might have been the guy that stepped down and he came in and played. I know he did it. He played with him for about 2 years. Okay. And he came in because the other keyboard player left. So I don't think his intention was to ever stick with him, but I think he offered him pretty decent money, and he was just like, ah. And I think right out of the gate, he said, I'm not going to stay. So I think once they found a replacement, that's when he came back. But he was with him about 2 years. I could find the guy's name. I'm sure I could ask the guys at Shenandoah who he was. All right, guys, we've been on for 2 hours and 50 minutes. We've been streaming like a mad. That's why my throat's sore. I want to thank everyone for coming into the stream. If you're new here, please go down, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe. You didn't have to subscribe to chat, but I do want you to become a member of the channel. We're trying to be a different channel on YouTube, somewhere where everyone could come in and talk their piece and have their point of view and just talk gear, and be honest about it. That's what it's about.
So there was a Roy Bittan joined Bruce Springsteen.
Who is it?
Roy Bittan, I think it's how you say it.
I don't know.
Says while not leaving after just 2 years, he replaced David Sanchez.
It might have been him then. Does it say where he's from? He was from the Winchester area, Winchester, D.C. area.
I don't see it.
Doesn't say it. I don't know. The guys at Shenandoah Music, because I talked to him and they knew who I was talking about. They know him. Okay, guys. Again, I want to. Thank you, Trucker Bob. And just so you guys know, Super Chats is what funds the channel and allows the channel to buy guitars to give away. If you didn't know, yes, we give a guitar away every 2 months here. And that is how we fund it, Super Chats. And that's also what bought one of these mics. Okay. So some of that money does go back into the channel for to buy things. Okay. It really does. It does help. Helps out tremendously. And if you don't also know, we have a Discord server. So go check out our Discord server. Lots of cool cats over there posting guitar picks, posting deals like searching for tone. Come in and said, attention, everybody, $200 off of this. Well, we do that too on Discord. If someone sees something, they'll post it on there. And then, of course, there's all kinds of funny stuff they post on there. But go check out our Discord server, see what's going on there. And then please come back for Thursday night. We have a new piece of gear to review for Thursday night. So come check that out. And then next Thursday, the Thursday after that, we're going to have Brian back from Shenandoah Music. And we're going to be talking guitar tech and setup stuff.
David Sanchez, I think that's how you said it, I'm not sure.
That sounds
familiar.
familiar.
He grew up in New Jersey, but he has strong ties to Virginia, having been based in Richmond later in his career.
That might be who it is.
He played keyboards on Springsteen's first 3 albums.
No, that wouldn't be him. That would not be him. We'll find out who it was, guys. He's local in this area. So
Robbie Thompson?
I don't know. We're going to have to ask Matt and them.
He worked early with Springsteen, and he's specifically associated with
I don't
Richmond.
think it was early because he came in after the album Born in the USA. It would have been after that. It would have been after that. But before he went to see, I went to see Bruce Springsteen, and he was playing all folk music. He had completely dropped everything that made him famous. And I was really disappointed. I paid like $80 to go see this guy, and he didn't play anything that I knew. I'm not saying it was horrible, but it was all country and folk. And I didn't expect that. And no one said, hey, you're going to watch Bruce Springsteen. He doesn't play any of the stuff that made him famous. He's playing this now. No one told me that. So I know it was before Bruce Springsteen transitioned to this new stuff that he does now. All right, guys, again, I want to thank everybody for coming in. I see we got the chat rate way up, so that's good, but the stream's ending. We've been on for 3 hours. I want to thank everybody again for coming in. Anything that you guys can think of that would improve the stream, please post. I do listen. You know, I know we've been streaming now for, a year and a half. So we need to keep the content fresh. And I think just doing what we did tonight, just coming in and hanging out, that can't get any fresher because it's whatever we're talking about. That's the topic of the night. Tonight, we just seem to talk about music, and playing in bars. Very little chat about, we did talk about some gear, but it was more about what we used to do in a band and how to go about looking for bars to play and what you should be doing. So hopefully everyone found that entertaining. Oh, I see someone said that happened to us with Kid Rock. It was terrible. Where my brother lives, we went up there and they had karaoke. And I told them I wanted to go to karaoke. And they said, well, Kid Rock goes there all the time. So up in Michigan where they live, they literally live 5 miles from Kid Rock. So he just goes to the local bar, hangs out, and does karaoke with them. This was, 10 years ago. So I don't know if he still does that, but it used to be a big thing. He started a brewery right down the street from where my brother lives to help the community because the work was so bad. He just started his own brewery. I don't know if that's still open, but I got to think that's a pretty cool cat just to open a brewery to make beer to employ people that in your local town. So I think that's pretty cool. Everyone seemed to like him up there. But I went to karaoke and didn't see him. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming in again. Please go down and hit the thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, subscribe. And I'll see everyone Thursday night. Oh, and we're going to do our 5-minute ending window. I'm sitting here looking for the camera. The 2 screens are messing with me. We're going to do our 5-minute ending window that allows everyone to say goodbye and then post comments on what they'd like to see. And again, thanks, guys. I got to make sure I hit the right button. I think it's this one.